Freak Nation, what is up? We are live on YouTube this evening. Cole is live from Las Vegas. Thanks for hanging out. Lots to come over the next hour or so as I go live on Instagram too, so you can catch us there. Las Vegas post-race reaction extravaganza. It's Cole, it's Richie. Let's freaking go.
We went out there and ran the playoffs by the rules and won.
Yeah, just glad there was a lot of fans in the stands tonight. I'm hoping a lot of new fans from, over at the big track, and hope they all got introduced to sprint car racing with a great race.
The reputation of Uno is very childish, and it's unfair to Uno, but it really is.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Please hang up and try again.
Radio Network, broadcasting from the Lucas Oil Studios. Driven by General Tire.
Rock on, baby!
It's Speed Freaks. Motorsports Radio redefined with Kenny Sargent.
We love to party.
Crash Gladys.
What are we doing for the bachelorette party?
Here's the Freaks.
Freak Nation, what is up? Happy Sunday. Welcome to a very special live stream edition of Speed Freaks on this Sunday night from the Lucas Oil Studios. My name is Richie Suave Flores, hanging out in the beautiful palatial Lucas Oil Studios here in Phoenix, Arizona. Kenny and Crash are off this week. They're out hanging out in, I believe, San Diego this weekend, out in Southern California, getting away from the Arizona heat, heading out to the beach. Meanwhile, Cole and I hanging out. Cole is live in Las Vegas, Nevada this evening with me. And Cole, we got a lot to get to on the show. You had a busy 3 days there in Las Vegas hanging out. What did you get? You got truck racing, you got Xfinity racing, you got Cup racing, and high limit racing. So you were a busy man this weekend, crushing it on all of the Speed Freaks social media extravaganza channels for us. Cole, how you doing? Are you exhausted? Do you have your Mountain Dew in hand, ready to get through the next hour or so here live on YouTube? Oh, Cole, you are muted.
Are you kidding me?
No, you're back. There we go.
All right,
you're
I'm back. All right. Sorry. Thank you for the kind words to start off. Appreciate that. It has been a blast out here in Vegas. I do have my Mountain Dew handy. Zero sugar to save my teeth. No cavities, always very important. I had a blast, man. Truck race, I got here like about an hour and a half before it started. So pretty long road trip. Hit some snow on the way up here, but made it here safe. Had a good time at the truck race. Xfinity stuff was a lot of fun. Cup race was extremely chaotic. This was definitely a different, weekend for me because for those of you who don't know, I also am a reporter for the Arizona Republic. I predominantly do written stuff. So for Speed Freaks, I was doing a lot of boots on the ground stuff in pit road, in the garage, a lot of just behind the scenes stuff and gathering content for social media, which was fun. It really allowed me to kind of enjoy the weekend more and tell the story of the sport from a different lens, from a visual perspective, I guess, as opposed to the written stuff. So it's been awesome and a lot of fun, a lot to get to here from Las Vegas, and I'm really fired up still.
Yeah, it was a terrific race, Cup Series out at Las Vegas on Sunday. And it was a very shocking, surprising wrap to that race because for the first time in his career, Josh Berry got his first career win with the Wood Brothers racing team in what was a pretty excellent little battle he had there with Daniel Suarez for the first, 10 or so laps of that final stint to wrap up at Vegas. And that was awesome, man. And we're going to get to some bites here from Josh Berry in a second. But Cole, what did you make of Josh Berry's victory? How cool was it to be in attendance for a kind of historic win for Josh, for the Wood brothers, who haven't been in victory lane much in the last 10 years? They obviously got Harrison Burton. He got a win last year for the first time. And now Josh Berry followed up with that. So to see the Wood brothers competing again at a high level is, I think, pretty cool for the sport because they've been in it for damn near the entire 75 plus years of NASCAR.
It's incredible. And seeing the response all up and down pit road in victory lane was really heartwarming, honestly, because I feel like no matter who you're a fan of, you feel great when the Wood Brothers are back to victory lane. The sport's better when a team like the Wood Brothers is winning. And Josh Berry, what a drive by him. Not a fluke victory by any stretch of the imagination. This was not a speedway, not a crazy, unpredictable race. He was up there in the top 10 the entire day. He held off both Trackhouse cars in Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain, and he also held off our good friend William Byron there in fourth place. But very hard-fought, well-deserved victory. And what struck out to me the most is just how on it he was today, how on it he was, how on it the team was today. There were the story of the race for me was all the pit road blunders. There were so many penalties, so many things that went awry on pit road. And they even had something to go on early in the race, I think at the first stage, and they were able to rebound from that and keep at it and run top 10 the entire time, get that win. And again, another really cool thing for me was just seeing how grounded he was following his first Cup victory and just his 53rd Cup start. That's a really, really cool stat, I felt. Very young Cup career, only a second full-time season here. I don't want to give too much away because we're going to get some clips here, obviously, with Josh Berry, but just such a great guy in the sport and really just want to see him succeed and see the Wood Brothers succeed at the highest level.
Yeah, I actually 100% agree with you. And in going through some of the clips you were sending me from that post-race press conference, and Josh Berry is going to join us here in just a moment through his press conference video, which Cole was so nice enough to gather for us in the Freak Nation. So you're going to hear from him in just a second. But yeah, when I was listening to him, I was like, man, this guy is so darn easy to root for. He is the kind of guy that NASCAR needs to have in victory lane more often because he is so likable. And we're going to get to it, and you're going to hear Josh Berry explain his pathway to get to where he is now was long. It was winding. It took him a while, and he literally worked his ass off to get this Cup Series ride. Not only he was with Stuart Haas, I believe, last year for a couple seasons before they decided to shut their doors. Moving over to the Wood Brothers, awesome to see Josh Berry succeed, and I hope we continue to see more success from him and him contending for more wins as the season goes along. But I do want to go back to, Cole, you were talking about some of the pit road blunders, and I thought that made this race more exciting, especially down the stretch, because, Cole, there was a point in this race where it was in the last half of the race where some teams came in to top off on fuel during a caution to get through, hopefully, the rest of the race if it went through on a green flag run, right? And that kind of flipped the field on its head a little bit. So you saw, your main leaders of the race, right? You saw Kyle Larson, you saw William Byron, a couple others who had to drive back through the pack coming from like 25th to try and get back in contention. That really completely changed the race, right? And that's what got Daniel Suarez. That's what got Ross Chastain. That's what got these guys in contention to win, Josh Berry in contention to win, and to watch some of these bigger contenders, some of these guys who were leading the most laps today have to come back through the field like that in the final stint of the race made it so much more exciting, and the topsy-turvy nature was pretty great. And so for a mile and a half to put on a show like this is good for the sport. Because a few years ago, Cole, we were talking about how crap the mile and a halfs were and how boring they were. And all of a sudden, in this new Gen 7 era, the mile and a halfs, man, they just put on good shows every week. And this was the first one of the year.
Yeah, I thought it was an awesome race. Again, very strategy heavy, which I think we grew accustomed to prior to the next gen and the Gen 6 car when you had the COTs and whatnot. A lot of green flag racing. Fuel mileage was a big topic of discussion back then. So it felt nice to have another one of those races where strategy was more of a factor, albeit in a more chaotic fashion with the wrecks we had and the pit road blunders. But it just goes to show you that NASCAR really is a team sport. And I think the sport shines the most when it's exemplified like that, because it's very easy to get lost in the big names that are driving these cars, but it really is a complete team effort. And there's so much that you can really just take away from the performances up and down pit road, behind the scenes in the garage area working on these cars. So I thought it was awesome. I thought it was cool to see the race get flipped on its head a little bit, because in the second stage, I mean, it looked like you were saying it was going to be another Kyle Larson, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, top three finish. Ryan Blaney had a good run going there until his entire weekend just went to crap. It was just a brutal weekend for that team. But no, I enjoy races like this, and I like the fact that it was a deserving winner because, like I said, it's very easy for these races where there's a lot of chaos and strategies going on to get a fluky winner. But Josh Berry was a guy that was consistently running top 10 the entire time, and he held off some really strong drivers to get this victory. So I really enjoyed this one, I got to say.
I did too. I thought it was great. Next week, we're going to Homestead, which puts on some of the best racing in the sport. Switching to a March date, so that should be a little interesting. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what the attendance is like, and see if that show is going to be the same as it is in the fall. But Cole, maybe the biggest story of the entire day was the fact that God himself was in attendance for this race. The man from Bruce Almighty, Morgan Freeman, one of the greatest actors in the history of mankind, was in attendance for this race. Cole, did you feel the electricity having the voice of God hang out at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to give the command? And if you watched our intro, he gave a very subtle command. Actually, here, let's take a listen to Morgan Freeman calling, "Gentlemen, start your engines," before the race, because boy, it got me so excited.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
That's it. That's all we got.
It's so simple, so subtle, but so effective. So Morgan Freeman being at the media center. First of all, I think Kelly Cradle got a video, it might be on our social media, but it was like the entire media center, the entire track, anybody in that vicinity just stopped what they were doing and tuned into what Morgan Freeman was saying up there on the podium. It was the coolest thing ever, man. Such a surreal experience. Just like being in the presence of a living legend like him. And that's one thing I will never forget. Oh, man. I wish I could have gotten a selfie because that would have been 10,000 times better. But just being in his presence alone was really, really just so
I just expected...
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Expected more from one of the greatest voices in the history of film cinema. Other than just like a, monotone, no excitement. Like, Morgan, give us more excitement, dude. Come on.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
And I know the hesitation there too was a little bit of a hindrance for me, but I still think it was effective. It's still Morgan Freeman, so I have minimal complaints.
It is. That's good on NASCAR for getting the likes of Morgan Freeman out to a race. He was rolling with a Bubba Wallace hat, which was really sick. Yeah. I saw some videos of him and Bubba kind of hanging out and chit-chatting real quick. So that's pretty cool. So to get Morgan Freeman out to a race, that's awesome. That's good for NASCAR. Unfortunately, this is all he gave us.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
We're going to keep that in our bank. I want to use that
we got
over and over again. Like, just in case we need a little energy boost on the show, that's what we're going to go to. That's what we're going to go to. All right, back on track. We were, as we like to say, digging rabbit holes. But Josh Berry is your winner from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Cole, let's get to some of these pieces of audio that you got after the race from Josh Berry. And let's start with, did Josh Berry ever think he'd win a NASCAR Cup Series race?
I think back, through, the last few years, right? I feel like when I left the 9 car, I was the most confident that I'd ever been as a driver. I thought Alan did a tremendous job just building my confidence throughout that whole process and everybody. But since then, it's been tough, right? My Xfinity Series season in 23 was tough. And then, last year, just battling through the emotions of every part of that, it was difficult to manage, right? But, through those days, you learn so much about yourself, and so many lessons that I learned last year from them guys have stuck. And now I find myself here in this new opportunity. And from the minute that I sat with everyone at this table and thought about this opportunity, it just felt right. Like, it just felt like the right fit for me. But our performance the start of the season has 100% exceeded my expectations, and I think that it just goes back to just trusting your instincts as a driver. That if you're in a good situation, surrounded by good people, and have fast race cars, then you can do amazing things. And I think that's where I'm at with it. Really, like, Miles has done a tremendous job believing in me, and I know there's times that probably even in the short couple weeks that he's probably thinks, what is this guy talking about or whatever, but he's had my back, and we've built this quickly together, and I just feel like it's ultimately it comes down, if you're in a good situation surrounded by good people, leave it up to those guys to do their jobs and trust what you know as a driver, and here we are.
That was Josh Berry talking about how thinking about if he'd ever actually win a Cup Series race. And it seems like we were just talking about the Wood brothers seemingly are kind of getting their stuff together, and they're truly learning how to win races. Once again, it helps that you're in alignment with maybe the best motorsports organization in the world right now, being Team Penske, right? Mm-hmm. that has to help, being with Team Penske and Ford as well. Team Penske won again this weekend. They won the overall in the 12 Hours of Sebring, if you were watching that on Peacock. I caught a little bit of that. But again, Team Penske dominated that race. But again, just like listen to Josh Berry there, and like maybe not like we joke about vanilla personalities, and maybe Josh Berry has a little bit of that in him. but at least he's like easy to root for, isn't he, Cole? Like that was one of my biggest takeaways as we go through the rest of these pieces of video. Though he's just a likable dude, man. It feels like anybody could have been Josh Berry, if they were the ones to go and work their ass off to get into the Cup Series,
I could not agree more. I think he's so humble, just such a genuine guy. And that's who you want to root for. Someone who's not going to put on a show and be this like crazy, outlandish personality. Just somebody that you can walk up to on the street any given day and meet this person. You would never know that they're a race car driver going over 200 miles an hour every single weekend. But no, I really respect that. Again, we're going to get to a clip here about why he didn't do a burnout. And I think that's another thing. Like, I really just appreciate how grounded he is as an individual. It can be very easy to get caught up in being a Cup Series driver, competing for this famed historic organization like the Wood Brothers, and being so close with guys like Dale Jr., who helped you get your Cup Series start and start in NASCAR in general. So that's just something I've always really appreciated about Josh Berry, as he's been making his way up through the NASCAR ranks. And I respect him even more now, seeing how he's been able to kind of keep that in check and stay true to himself, being now a NASCAR Cup Series winner, which is just still insane for me to even say.
Exactly. And you asked him specifically about, essentially, because he really did kind of win this race so soon into his career. And we'll get to that in just a second. But you did mention why he didn't do a burnout. Let's find out why Josh Berry, today's winner, Sunday's winner in Las Vegas, did not do a burnout after his first career win, which is wild. Celebrate, dude. But he decided not to do it in a different way.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think back to, there's a couple reasons. I think, number one, over the course of the off season, I found myself watching the 2014 Daytona 500 when Dale won, and he went down to one and kind of swung around and took his stuff off and waved at the fans. And I think back to nights and Saturday night short track racing that we would do that type of celebration, right? Because you couldn't blow the quarter panels up, you couldn't blow the motor, you couldn't tear the car all to hell after the race, and that's just what I wanted to do, right? Like I don't know, it's just kind of who I am. I did a little bit of one at the end there, just kind of spun around a couple times, but that's just who I am as a person, right? Like I've spent my whole life working on my own race cars and building race cars, and got my ass chewed a couple times for doing burnouts when I shouldn't, and tore stuff up, and I just wanted to soak in the moment.
I don't know if you remember this, Cole, but it was a couple years ago where Ryan Blaney was asked why he didn't do burnouts as well. And so maybe this is just a Penske thing, which kind of makes sense for Roger Penske. Team Penske is well known for being like very buttoned up, very white shirt, clean white shirt type of organization. So that kind of makes sense. But I don't know if Google is right. This is the Google AI, but I remember this being a story. So I'm like 92.3% sure that this is correct, which is that Ryan Blaney usually doesn't do burnouts after winning. Why? He says it's inspired by a comment from NASCAR Hall of Famer Dale Inman, who said, "You don't see the winner of the Kentucky Derby get off his horse and start beating it."
Yeah. That actually, I can confirm that. I believe he actually said that following his championship win at Phoenix, because he did do a burnout in that instance. And somebody asked, they're like, "Oh, you don't usually do burnouts when you win races. Why did you do one now?" And he said it was a special moment, obviously, winning the championship as opposed to winning the race. But he cited that exact quote from Dale Inman about the Kentucky Derby. So I think that's Ryan Blaney's thing, obviously. But that could be something to be said for that with the Wood brothers and Josh Berry, being that they are a Penske alliance. I always liken them to the New York Yankees in a sense, which I guess that's kind of a bad analogy now because they reinstated their facial hair and long hair policy. But
that is a good comparison, though. That is a perfect comparison.
Right. Yeah, they're a very buttoned up organization. Everything's got to be pristine, clean, and perfect. So there could be something there.
Josh Berry continued after his first ever NASCAR Cup Series victory, answering a question from our very own Cole Cusomano about getting his first career Cup Series victory. Just 53 races into his career. Cole, before we get to this real quickly, why did you ask that question specifically? And why was that like so fascinating to you that it was 53 races is less than 2 seasons into a career? And he really has never been in your elite equipment. So I think that is a very surprising stat when you sent me that question.
I asked that question because I feel like, and he'll reference this when he responds, but usually you don't see drivers break through to victory lane until they're like 100 starts into their career. Not only that, it's also the fact that, I mean, the Wood brothers, it's no secret. They have not had a ton of success in finding victory lane the last 2 decades. You had Ryan Blaney, you had Trevor Bayne, Harrison Burton, and now Josh Berry. So I was the career thing is one thing, obviously, with the 53 starts and breaking through for your first win. But also, just was it surprising for him to break through in such a short time for the Wood brothers as well? Just because we've seen this team, whenever they've had their success, it's been on super speedways. So that was kind of my thought process behind this question. And yeah, see what he had to say.
I mean, yeah, I think, you see a lot of statistics about guys in the Cup Series, and kind of the 100 race mark being the mark of when, the performance kind of turns, I guess, for them once they build the experience. But, I don't know. At the same time, I don't consider myself the same as a lot of younger guys, right? I mean, I'm older. I'm more experienced in racing as a whole. Not Cup racing or Xfinity racing. I mean, I'm still relatively inexperienced in that side of things. But as a racer and a person, I mean, I'm 34 years old and have been racing for years and years and years. I mean, I've just kind of, even though it's at a different level, I've seen a lot of different things, and I feel like that proved in the Xfinity series that I was maybe a little bit more prepared than really I thought I was, and now to be here today, it's really cool.
That was Josh Berry talking about winning so quickly, and again, that is pretty wild. That is, again, less than basically a little over 2 seasons into his career that he was able to get the win. And I'm sure there's other names. I wasn't able to look this up beforehand, but I'm sure there's bigger names in the history of NASCAR who won their first career race much later into their careers than just 53 races. I'd like to look that up. Freak Nation, BR Crack investigative staff, Cody, who I know is helping us out tonight producing the show. Somebody look this up and give me some cool names about drivers who have drop us a comment in the YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube about drivers who won their first career race, who went on to multiple become champions, etc. That kind of thing. Like the biggest names in the sports history who won their race after their 53rd career race. I'm curious about that. I'm sure I should have looked it up before, Cole, but I did not do that. I am not properly prepared for this program.
I probably should have as well, but it was like I had the press conference and I jetted right in this room to do the show. But I don't quote me on this. I feel like Seth Eggert, Justin Schuler, they both do a good job with making these charts for NASCAR motorsports. They probably have a chart of that somewhere, and if they don't, I will text Seth following the show to get that going. But
And we'll get it out there. Cody just texted us SVG. Yes, SVG wanted his first.
Yeah.
He wanted his first career start, but I was talking about like people who have big names who it took them a while to find victory lane, but once they did, their career really took off and shot into another stratosphere. So if you're watching us, go look that up, Freak Nation. I'm very curious to find that out. Let's go with the one final Josh Berry thing we have here, and this is the one that really caught my eye, and they talked about it in the broadcast a little bit, and they talked about how Josh Berry kind of came up through this like weekly series background, and he's the first ever driver to come from that sort of background to win a NASCAR Cup Series race. And we know that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was very big in finding Josh Berry and giving him the chance to drive in late models, et cetera, et cetera. Here's Josh Berry talking about how he's had a very long road to come into the Cup Series and get his win.
Yeah, my story here, it's been well documented, right? We've talked about it a long time and how I got here and the years that, the years of grinding it out on the short tracks, right, to get to this opportunity. And I've been very fortunate to have some amazing opportunities in my life. I say it every time, right? 5 years ago, I felt like I was going to be a career short track racer, right? Racing, I wanted to be Bubba Pollard. I wanted to be, the greats on the short tracks. And, Junior Motorsports gave me an opportunity to go drive an Xfinity car. We won a race, and then we won another race. And then, I get an opportunity in a Cup car, and that goes well. And here I am now. So it's, those grassroots are important to NASCAR. There's a lot of amazing drivers at that level. And, I'm just thankful to, I wouldn't change anything about how I got here. I love, I look back now and I miss those days tremendously, right?
Yeah, Cole, we're going to get into Formula One, I think, a little bit later to wrap up the show. But hearing that answer from Josh there, that's what it brought to mind for me. It's that from what he was saying there, like it reminded me of like old school NASCAR where you were like in your garage, working on your car, and you had a job Monday through Friday, right? Like that's what that brings to mind for me, instead of the Formula One silver spoon in your mouth, Nepo baby shenanigans, that you find with Lance Stroll, that you find, with Max Verstappen, right? These big name Formula One drivers, they all came in with a bunch of crap ton of money and had a silver spoon, Nepo baby. Josh Berry's the complete opposite of that. And if you take away anything from this evening, Freak Nation, make it that Josh Berry should become a favorite of yours and somebody that I think Cole and I agree on this is just listening to that answer, somebody who's super, super easy to root for.
Yeah, extremely humble, as I mentioned earlier. And I really appreciate people that put in the effort to get where they are today. And he's done an excellent job in rising through the ranks all the way to now the NASCAR Cup Series being a winner at the top level of the sport. Just cannot say enough great things about him. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds because, he mentioned it there. He thought he would be a lifetime short track racer. And now, fast forward all these years later, his first Cup win doesn't even come on a short track. It comes on a 1.5 mile track. So I think that speaks volumes to his talent and how far he's progressed in NASCAR. And it makes me really excited to see how he does the rest of the season because one thing I did not send over to you, Richie, I was mainly grabbing some Josh Berry sound bites and clips from the presser. The Wood brothers said this was kind of a big relief and something they hadn't experienced in a while, getting a win this early in the season. And he even looked back to the last 3 wins with Harrison Burton, Trevor Bayne, or I guess not Trevor Bayne, actually, Harrison Burton and Ryan Blaney. They all came in the halfway point of the season or the second half of the season. And to get this win out of the way now, lock into the playoffs now, it gives them a good baseline to work with. It gives them the luxury of kind of messing around with things to refine their processes for the playoffs. And it wasn't just Vegas. We saw speed every single week this season outside of Coda, I believe it was. So I think this is going to be a really interesting season. And if there's ever a chance where you should hop on the Josh Berry bandwagon, and now's the time because it's going to be a fun one to follow. And I think we're going to see a lot more from up front of the field here as the season progresses.
Yeah, I wonder, comparing it to last year, do you remember the narrative at the end of last year, Cole, after Harrison Burton got his victory, where it's like, Oh, we can't have him in the playoffs because he won. Oh, he didn't deserve it. Oh, he's dead last in the points. He shouldn't be in there, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. And that ridiculous narrative that I hated because he went out and beat the best drivers in the world at the same exact thing. And he earned his spot in there by getting the win, even though he wasn't as consistent. Anyway, I'm retreading what already happened last year. But my point being that the Wood brothers with Harrison Burton were terrible last year and maybe had one of the worst seasons on the grid, if not the worst season on the grid, despite making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this something like you were kind of talking about that can propel them into a better season and finding themselves into the top 20 and becoming more of a top 10 threat through the rest of the season? And I wonder if that's going to be the case. And I feel like Josh Berry, now that he got this one out of the way, he's got that monkey off his back and he can kind of relax more and then focus more on winning races. Because you get your first out of the way, then it becomes addicting, right? It becomes addicting.
Right. And I think another big thing with this is that, like, he's not somebody because of his background, how he got up here in NASCAR. He's not somebody who's going to rest on this win in itself and just kind of like be complacent. He's going to keep working at it and keep trying to win as much as he can every single week. So I'm really excited for that. And I just really think that it's going to be a great trajectory for this driver. And I do think you're going to see more of him at the front of the field and contending for top 10s because it's not just him. Like, another guy that we see from the Team Penske stable is Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric walked away with the second top 10 of the season today. And he's had speed all season, albeit we've had 2 speedways and a road course. But in those races, now 5 starts, he's led over 47 laps in 3 of those, including today. He's racked up a ton of stage points. They have the speed, which I think is something that we have not seen with Cindric in his young career. And again, it goes back to Josh Berry as well, because these are the 2, I guess, the looked down as the lesser cars of the Team Penske and Team Penske organization alliances with Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano there as the 2-time champions. But I do think that this is going to be a changing of the tide for Team Penske as a whole with Austin Cindric and obviously Josh Berry now getting his first ever Cup Series win here for Wood Brothers Racing.
We just spent 30 minutes talking about one singular race and Josh Berry. So thank you, Josh Berry, for providing us the content. I'm so glad he was the one that got the win instead of William Boring, who is not here.
Where is he? Oh, no.
Oh, hold on a second. No, wait, hang on. Cole, hang on. He fell. He fell down.
No.
There he is. There's Will. There's Will. He's still here. Did not get the win today. Josh. So thank you, Josh Berry, for winning instead of.
He was so close though.
Instead of Willie B. Coming up, Joey Logano is going to join us. If you missed it on the Wednesday show or you haven't checked it out on YouTube, we're going to play it again for you here this evening. He joined Kenny and Crash out at Phoenix Raceway, and he had some incredible thoughts on the playoff system, pizza, the future of his kids maybe hopping into a race car at some point in time. And he tells a story about how he snuck in to Atlanta Motor Speedway. So that's coming up in just a moment. But first, we've been yapping for 33 minutes and haven't taken a commercial break and shouted out our sponsors. So Cole, you can take a breath for a second. So can I. And let's hear about our very beautiful partners. They're on my hat. Lucas Oil.
This freaking segment is brought to you by our friends at Lucas Oil. Now, what automobile do you have in the garage? I bet Lucas Oil could keep that thing fat and happy and on the road. From everyday car care, heavy-duty trucking to agriculture, hot rods, classic cars, motorcycles, and marine, Lucas Oil has what you need to keep those engines, interiors, and exteriors looking like and running like they're supposed to be. For more information, go to the website, lucasoil.com, and find the perfect Lucas Oil product. Keep your rides on the road.
Freak Nation, I hope you enjoyed this interview from last week at Phoenix Raceway with Joey Logano, your defending NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Here in the Freak Nation, a couple things I want to talk to you about out of the gate. One was, we were in this very press room when I brought up to you about Martin Truex Jr. leaving the sport. We know that you two had your issues throughout the tenure, but you took a deep breath and you didn't get emotional, but you said some very kind things about Martin, and Martin to the point had to put his head down a couple of times to the things you were saying.
I think getting to know Martin away from the racetrack is something that I think is cooler than racing against somebody. We've taken the time to fly together a lot here recently with a friend of ours, and we all jump on the plane together, and there's a lot of games of rummy and good times. Usually on the way home, it's more fun than on the way here. But it's been fun to get to know him, and obviously what he's done with his foundation, the amount of kids that have been impacted. That's, to me, is the true measure of success in life. It's not what you do on the racetrack. It's a true judgment of character is what you do to give back. And I think when it comes to drivers' foundations, there's not many, if any, that have done it better than how Martin's done it. We've seen Catwalk for a Cause. I think that's just one piece of it. That's probably the public side that we all see. But no one ever sees the dirty work, right? Everything that goes on behind the scenes to not just make that event happen, but all the other things, those impacts that we don't see every single day. So I'm really grateful to be a part of that for as many years as I've at least gotten to go to that and gotten to know you over the last 16 years. It's been a blast, man, and I hope you enjoy your time. We've talked a lot on the airplane about what it's going to be like, and he seems like he's pretty excited about it, so I'm happy for him. Thanks for asking that.
You get up there and you speak from the heart. Is really what I mean, this always seems the right thing to do is be yourself. And I think Martin's done a lot for the sport, right? And he's done a lot, even more so, I feel like, for a lot of kids. So I think that's, the most impactful thing that you can do with the sport, right? I say it all the time. What we do is actually kind of dumb, right? We drive in circles all day long to end up in the same place. Are you really impacting the world in a great way? No. And is anyone going to remember who wins the race this weekend 15 years from now, 20 years from now? No. But if you can impact someone's life in a positive way, that's generational, right? That changes someone's life for a long, long time. And so I think when drivers understand that, I respect that a lot because that's what life's all about.
People will remember Indy 500 winners. Roger Penske, his new house, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Any conversations about going Indy 500 championship hunting?
No, not for me. I mean, for Roger, he can go after it, and then obviously he does.
For Joey?
For Joey, no, it's not in the cards. I just, Larson does it, and he's an amazing talent, right? And for me, I don't, for one, know if I'm as talented as he is. I got to work really hard to be good at this. Where, there's some drivers that can just jump in things and go. And I have enough talent where I can go, but I don't know if I can go win. And if I can't put myself in position to win, I don't want to do it. And I feel like I'll be taking something away from my cup card to do that. So for me, I don't want to do that. Nothing against what Larson's doing. I think it's great. I think it's cool for motorsports. All the motorsports that he's doing it. It's just not my type of thing.
Joey, you were sliced bread. Come on. That doesn't register in my brain that you have to work hard to go for wins. What is it that you're doing? Whether it's mentally, physically, what is it that you think you have to go the extra mile for?
Yeah, I think, mentally, I just have to be the most prepared. It's not all the time that we're the fastest car on the racetrack. Sometimes we are, and that's great. And certain racetracks, we definitely are, that fall into our wheelhouse as a team or myself as a driver. But the details is what matters these days. You think about, cars are all so equal. Is really challenging in the past. Those little things matter more than ever. So I always feel like if I try to be ahead on those type of things the best I can. Right. And like I said, for some people, they don't need to do that. But for me, I kind of have to.
Again, though, you've got the resources. They seem so easy is not the word. That's not the word I'm looking for. But they seem like you've got everything going for you. 3 championships we're talking too. Whatever work you're putting in, it's working.
Well, thanks. You look at the best in any sport, right? Kobe Bryant probably had a ton of talent, right? But he was also the one that was practicing longer than anybody. There's got to be something to that, right? That's what I've always believed. Roger Penske says it the best. All the time he says effort equals results, right? The harder I work, the luckier I get. He says these things all the time, and I think it gets beat into my mind so much that I obviously believe in that because I just don't believe in luck at all.
So how does Dad, Joey Logano, take those things that Boss Roger says and implement it into their kids' brains?
Just by example, right? That's the way Roger did. That's the way my dad did it with me, right? My dad didn't ever very often sit me down and say, this is how you have to do things. It was just I watched. Right. I watched my dad come home from work with grease under his nails and dirty, and he's running the company. And like, I always watched him running. Like, he was running physically everywhere. And I'm like, okay, like, this is how you're supposed to do it, I guess. Right. And so I just watch and learn. I think it's the best way your kids can do that. Right. Whether it's about work or how you treat your wife, right? How you treat other people, those type of things. I don't know if conversations are the most impactful, right? It's visually seeing it and experiencing it.
Where are your kids right now with you being this championship driver? They probably don't have any idea what 3 championships are, but what is their realization of you being a race car driver?
It's kind of, I wonder what it's like for them a little bit, because it's weird. Right. I mean, let's be honest. Like, it's a unique way to grow up. If your dad's a race car driver, like, we show up to places and people come up and say hello to me. And I think it's really weird when they know my kids and I'm like, they haven't done anything. Like, how would you know them? Right. Like, but I want to make sure that they stay humble. Right. Because I don't want them to think there's something they're not, because my oldest is 7. Right. Like, he thinks it's cool. Right. He loves racing, loves cars. We talk about it a lot. Loves basketball though too, right? And so like we're in that. Jameson's a little younger. He just wants to go play out in the woods, and Amelia don't care at all. But it's fun to have those relationships and have fun with my kids. But it's definitely unique and odd, right? Just to if we come to the racetrack and we can go wherever we want to go. Well, you think it's really cool, right? Like I remember as a kid trying to sneak into the garage, right? And like everybody does. I'm sure everybody watching this probably tried to sneak into the garage at some point, right? I did that. My kids don't have to do that. So it gets a little weird, right? And so it's just a unique scenario. I want to make sure they understand how lucky they are just to walk into the garage.
Okay, statute of limitations is probably out. Where did you sneak in?
I snuck into Atlanta a few times when I lived there. Yeah, I had a security guard buddy. He worked out pretty good. You gotta have one on the inside.
Absolutely. Love it.
We've got an 11-year-old between us, and there's so many things that she does where it bends me at the knees, where it's just so precious. But then she can be an a-hole. Yeah. Do you when you take off your fire suit, does the a-hole come out with your kids? Like, yeah, to your kids when you got to be no.
I have to be.
Yeah. do they say it's race car daddy or it's daddy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it ever really changes, right? I mean, if I'm at work, I'm at work. I don't bring my kids to work, right? I mean, you see us before maybe the race starts or something like that. They're out there, but at that point, everything's already prepared and you're done, right? So it's not really like much going on. But I mean, as soon as I get back to home or the rental car after the race, Dad's done. Dad's dad now, right? Dad's done working. And I get the upload on how the day went from Mom. And then we try to handle it from there. But I mean, they're kids, right? Their kids are going to be kids. You just hope that their morals are good and that they become solid people, right? That's all I care about, is to try hard at whatever you do. Just be a good person, right? Like those 2 basic things will get you pretty far in life.
Speed Freaks celebrates 25 years this year, and we've been, of course, part of Speed Freaks for 25 years, and we've been married for how many?
Since 09.
Oh, all right, since 09. We have a child.
So 16.
Could you work with your wife?
Yes.
Dude, I hired her over Eva Longoria.
How does this happen? Yeah, okay. How's this? Tell me the story then.
Oh. Well, the story then goes to he fired me 6 weeks in, and I had to hear somebody else in my spot, and I came crawling back to Kenny, and we didn't really like each other at that time either.
I bet not. You got fired.
That's the long and the short.
Over somehow.
Well,
you back.
I agreed to do sales calls, and then all of a sudden, the rest was history.
That was it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Thanks for not going there too deep, man.
Yeah, we're going to stay right there. Yeah, we're good.
I'm a Texas Rangers fan. They were a wild card team. They won the freaking World Series. I had no problem with that. Some other people did. Joey Logano won a championship last year within the rules, but a lot of people are still knocking it because of what you did. They consider that you weren't the best driver to win the championship. If you win within the rules, can't you just tell people to kiss your ass?
Yeah, you can. But, like, I don't feel like I need to go out there and explain myself, right? Like, we went out there and ran the playoffs by the rules and won. tough luck for everyone else. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Like, I really don't know what to say. Like, everyone had the same opportunities to go out there and do it. Did we start from behind the 8 ball a little bit? Well, yeah, we didn't have the playoff points that a lot of these other cars had, but we were able to get through, and we made it happen, and we won. So, I mean, I'm not going to, like, what do you want me to say? Like, after that, like,
so are they going to say
the trophy? I already did the talking, you know?
So when they change the rule, is it going to be like they have the Kyle Larson rule? They've got the Matt Kenseth rule. Is it going to be the Joey Logano rule?
I don't know if they're going to change it, right? I mean, I honestly don't, like, to your point, it's happened in Major League Baseball. It happens in every sport. It happens in the NFL. It happens in the NHL. Like, it can't happen in everything. That's just part of the playoffs and the long seasons, right? Just because a team has a rough start, right? Look at the Eagles; they didn't have the best start, and then they go win the whole thing. Is anyone mad about that, right? Like, it's a long season; you can turn things around, and the playoffs give that opportunity to teams to have the opportunity to rebound, but also put the pressure on the players, right? You think about the pressure that's on the players in the playoffs. Whether that's any sport, but like the NASCAR, whether it's the teams putting the cars together, the pit crews, all the pressure that's there is real. And people react differently under pressure. Some people get better. Some people get worse. Some people crack, right? Luckily, I got a team that's really good and it's really good under pressure. It's not luck. I shouldn't have said luckily. It's not. We put those people in place, right? And those people work hard at being good under pressure. And we've been able to capitalize when it matters the most. So don't get mad at me for that.
I'm about to drop off a pizza to you. What did you order?
Hunt Brothers Pizza. Oh man, I keep it pretty basic. I like pepperoni. Like, I literally like
sliced bread.
Yeah, just a pepperoni pizza, man.
Sliced pizza.
Slice of pizza. Dude, what a great sponsor though. Think about that. That's pretty good. Pizza deal? You got a pizza deal? It's pretty good. Yeah.
People have electronics and friggin' women's products. Nah, pizza, baby.
Pizza deal. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't like pizza? I've never met anyone.
My bad. I forgot to turn on my dang mic. This is what happens when you're doing a live show, Cole.
I didn't know if that was me or not. You can hear me still, right?
Oh, you're good. You're back. Your mic
All right.
is actually on now.
Yes. All right. I was going to say I had a mic malfunction. So now that we're all squared away,
we're good.
What you got?
This is the beauty about doing this show live is crap can go wrong. And, oh, well, too bad. Thanks for hanging out with us, Freak Nation. Again, that was Joey Logano joining us. If you missed that interview, it is, of course, up right here on YouTube if you want to check it out for yourself. Again, if you missed any part of it, it's on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Great stuff. Obviously, interviews, live shows, Horsepower Hump Day every Wednesday, the NASCAR show that Kenny Crash, Cole, and myself yip yap about all the latest NASCAR news during the middle of the week to get you over your hump day. Cody did get back to us, our producer Cody, behind the scenes today on the ones and twos in radio. That's what we used to call it in radio, the ones and twos. I don't know why. Don't ask me why it's called that, but that's what it was called. That's what it was called. He managed to look up for us what I was asking for earlier, which is some of the bigger names in the history of NASCAR that got their win in their 53rd race or later. So here's what he came up with. This is crazy. Let's see. We got Robbie Gordon, 61. Clint Boyer, 64. Jeff Bodine, 69. Nice. Ryan Blaney, 68 races into his career, which is pretty wild for a NASCAR Cup Series champion. Rusty Wallace, Cup Series champion, 72. Bobby Labonte, Cup Series champion, 74. William Boring, 98 races into his career. Kyle Larson, 99 races into his career. Chase Elliott, 99 races into his career. Ken Schrader, 108. So that was kind of my point. Is like that's how impressive what Josh Berry did is kind of, especially racing again for a team that hasn't been at the top level of Cup Series competition in well over a decade, if not 20 plus years, right? And he beat out all those Hall of Fame names and got his Cup Series victory faster. So thank you for doing that, Cody. A+.
MVP.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Anyway, with that said, we do have a couple more things to get to. One of which is one of the big stories, Cole, from Phoenix was Catherine Legg. She joined us in the Freak Nation from Phoenix Raceway prior to the Cup Series race last Sunday. And that interview is blowing off the charts. So thank you to everybody who's checking that video out. I think Catherine is, what she's doing is pretty dang cool. And in the interview, she talks about, wanting to branch out and do all these different things. She ran the Chili Bowl this year, right? She's run the Indy 500 multiple times. Her first Cup Series start. And she's a racer, man. You go through the comments on that YouTube video, for goodness sake, and it's just a bunch of people whiny because they can't jump into a Cup car like Catherine Legg can, right? They can't jump in. They don't have the balls to jump into a Cup car, to jump into a sprint car like Catherine Legg did. The guts to do so, running the Chili Bowl. Anyway, so one of the things that come from that is, look, she did not have a good race, okay, unfortunately. She went to the garage after a spin and ended up wrecking Daniel Suarez in the process. But she did finish ahead of multiple other guys on the track. She did not finish last, Catherine Legg. So shout out to her. Anyway, so one of the things that come from this, Cole, was this idea about how NASCAR should go about licensing people to drive in the NASCAR Cup Series. Because Catherine Legg came in and didn't test in a NASCAR Cup Series car. She never, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe she had run any Xfinity Series races either. The only experience she really had in NASCAR was she ran in the ARCA race at Daytona. And I believe that's about it. So, Cole, what do you make of the conversation this week before we get to these bites from Kurt Busch and from Joey Logano talking about this? What do you make of this conversation about how NASCAR should go about doing this? Casey Mears, I believe, is coming back into the car as well. So what do you make of this conversation this week? And should NASCAR make a change in its policy to really honestly set these drivers up to succeed better? Because what they did to Catherine was kind of screwed up, really, to just throw her out there to the wolves.
Exactly. I was going to say the exact same thing right there. She did have 5 prior Xfinity starts under her belt, so that there's that to fall back on. But the level of competition in the Cup Series and just the way these cars handle with the current Gen 7 next-gen car, it is wildly different compared to the Xfinity Series. And I think for a track like Phoenix, where things are so technical, it's a very difficult track to make your Cup debut, especially with this current car. But I really, really do believe there should be something done for the approval process. Like you said, she had no prior testing. But back in like the COT days, even I think the Gen 5 days, like they had a lot of testing where these drivers would come in, they'd make starts, and they'd have an ample amount of time under their belt on the track. So for someone like Catherine, who was extremely accomplished in her own right, 4-time sports car winner, multiple attempts in the Indy 500, all these different forms of motorsport. She's wildly talented, but you hear it from tons of different racers in NASCAR, out of NASCAR. It's just very difficult to kind of navigate this series and these stock cars specifically. So I think if NASCAR made an exception to allow testing for drivers looking to make one-off starts, that would definitely be something that I think I would welcome. And I think a lot of the competitors would welcome, because the bottom line is you look at how that race at Phoenix went. Daniel Suarez was running 6th when Catherine Legg ran into him. And he is in a deep points hole right now. He finished, obviously, runner-up today in Las Vegas. So it could be a potential season changer for him and a career changer for him if you're buying into the rumors and whatnot about him at Trackhouse. But the bottom line for me is that there should be a different process for getting approval for drivers. And again, that's not a knock on whoever is looking to make a start in the Cup Series. It's just the fact that these cars are so difficult to drive that you got to have more track time under your belt, have a better understanding for how they drive and how they operate before going out there and potentially rooting one of these guys' days that's running for points and for a championship potentially.
I do want to reset what's going on here, Cole, because it is after 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock here Pacific time in Arizona. Kenny and Crash are on vacation. They're out of town. So I see you, Big Glenn, in the chat. Yes, the inmates are running the asylum today. It's myself, Ricky Suave Flores, here in the Phoenix Lucas Oil Studios. Cole Cusomano is joining us from Vegas. If you missed any of our conversation about Josh Berry's first career Cup Series victory, you can go and check that out. Rewind on the YouTube stream. Go back to the beginning. We spent a good amount of time talking about Josh Berry, including hearing from Josh Berry himself in his post-race press conference. So it is Cole and Richie here hanging out with you here past the top of the hour. Thanks for hanging out with us. We see you in the chat. So shout out to you guys. I do want to go to bring up some of these before we dive further into this Catherine Lake conversation. Warphammer chiming in. Thanks for hanging out with us here this evening. He says, testing isn't the answer. The problem is running in back of the pack. Running solo laps will make no difference. That's actually kind of true where you're not learning how to race. You're learning how to drive. And I think there is a big difference here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Blake, again, Kitty and Crash are on vacation. So they'll be back with us, I believe, for Horsepower Hump Day, but I could be wrong about that, at least next week. Greg chiming in. He's been with us all show. Big Wood Brothers fan, if I'm not mistaken. So thanks for hanging out with us, Greg, saying that Catherine did run an Xfinity Series race at Richmond. Thank you for that. I wasn't 100% sure about that. So Greg, again, chiming in. It's a private club. They will let whomever they want in or not, and that is a perfect transition because that's exactly what Kyle Busch was trying to get at when he was asked the question about how this process for getting drivers approved should change. He essentially says, you guys upstairs in the suits, you don't know what you're doing. Let us drivers figure that out. Here's Kyle Busch talking about how NASCAR goes about approving drivers to run in the NASCAR Cup Series.
I think it's broken. I think there's a lot of work that could be done to make it better. I also do feel as though it shouldn't be suit and ties making the decisions always. Certainly there can be some that need to be involved, but I do feel like there needs to be fire suits involved in some of those decision-making processes on those that need to be approved or not approved for various activities. And I'll even go so far to say, too, that I feel the same way on driver penalties, the Austin Cindric deal. I don't think suit and ties should be making that. I think you should get penalized by your peers.
That's Kyle Busch at his best, isn't it, man? Not mincing any words, going right after NASCAR and saying, you suits do not know what in the hell you're talking about. And I 100% agree with them. Because I think it was last week we were talking about, I don't remember the exact topic, but we were talking about something similar, which is, or maybe it was Denny Hamlin or somebody else. It's all a blur at this point where we were talking about something similar where it's like, it shouldn't be the kind of non-drivers making the decisions. It should be a lot of the drivers should be having more say in what goes on with the rules, et cetera, et cetera. I think it was after the Cindric penalty, actually. So do you agree with Kyle Busch, Cole? Do you agree?
1,000%. Yeah. That when he said that in the media center, it really just struck a chord with me because this should be an instance where I feel like the sport is kind of self-policed by the competition because ultimately they're the ones that are bringing dollars into the sport, bringing eyes into the sport, and making this thing go. And in a similar sense to what we were just talking about with Catherine Legg, it's potentially championship-altering implications if you have people that are a liability on track, whether that be in a one-off situation or a situation like Cindric where you're taking somebody out intentionally. So I think being judged by your peers and by those competing in the sport is the way to go. I didn't want to get to that when doing the Catherine Legg analysis and the waiver approval process because that was a really good comment from Kyle Busch. But that's the way to do it, in my opinion. I know there's a playoff committee now that Christopher Bell's a part of and a few other drivers. So maybe that is the model they should be taking here for potential penalties and these different scenarios like one-off starts for drivers and coming into the series because there was another thing that Kyle mentioned about how Casey Mears is making a start here in the Cup Series once again. And they felt that there was, I guess, more of a widespread, I guess, acceptance to that because he has run a Cup Series car before, albeit not in the next gen. But I'm curious to see how that plays out because if that backfires on them saying, oh, we're cool with Casey Mears running a one-off race in the Cup Series, and he goes out and just completely bombs it and takes a bunch of guys out of contention, that's going to spark some discussion, obviously. But I think forming some sort of committee where maybe not every single driver in the field it has a say, but select ones.
Make it a democracy. Make it a damn democracy.
Exactly.
Can you imagine if they did that? Like, all right, picture this. Picture this, Freak Nation. Here we go. Picture this. This is going to be a little thought experiment. Okay, Cole, are you a fan of the show Survivor?
I have seen Survivor. I enjoy it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So just kind of come inside my mind for just a second with this thought experiment, Freak Nation, and bear with me as I try and walk myself.
I think I know where you're going here.
Walk myself through this. Okay. So they have the drivers meeting every week. I actually was, when we were in Phoenix last week, I hung out in the drivers meeting. It was kind of cooler. I had never really been in attendance for one of those, so it was kind of cool. All the drivers, dignitaries show up, and it really is just for no reason. They legit put on like a PowerPoint presentation of the drivers and be like, hey, don't do this, you idiots. You're professional race car drivers. You already know this, but we're going to make you sit here for 15 minutes and do nothing anyway. So my proposal is in situations like Catherine Legg, like Casey Mears, Mike Wallace, who got denied earlier this year, Elio Castroneves. Here's what you do. You invite them into the drivers meeting, and then what happens is you also invite Jeff Probst.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yes, Jeff Probst shows up at the drivers meeting, okay? And he conducts a tribal council for said driver. So he's the one that goes around and he's like, okay, everybody gets to weigh in here. What did Catherine Legg do wrong that wronged you? And you get to go around and you get to argue. It would make for great television. And then like they all go to their little confessionals, right? Because you had those confessionals in Survivor, and they go and they tell the truth, and they're like, I'm voting for this person off the island because he's a dickhead, right? Well, the drivers should be able to do that too. So that's what happens. Everybody goes in their little booth. Now this is going to take a while. This is going to take, because there's 40 drivers a week. But they all go to the little confessional, they say their piece, and they vote on whether or not that driver gets to start the race. And then it's like a whole spectacle, and Jeff Probst sits there and he reads the names out, yes or no, for the entire thing. And that's how NASCAR decides. Because I tell you what, Cole, that is better. My idea is better than whatever they're doing now, because they clearly have no idea what they're doing, right? Because Elio Castroneves won ARCA race. And he got to run the Daytona 500 and failed miserably, unfortunately, right?
Yep.
Whereas Mike Wallace, who's been in the sport for 2+ decades, right? Ran the Cup Series before. It's like, no, you can't show up.
Yep.
It's again, it goes to like our whole point this year, Cole, about like the people running this sport are like up their own ass or something, because they have no idea what they're doing. They just throw stuff at a wall and seem to make it up as they go along. It's frustrating.
Right. And it goes back to there being no consistency, but that is an incredible concept right there.
Thank you.
NASCAR Cup Series Tribal Council featuring Jeff Probst on a weekly basis. You heard it here first. Bring it up. Implement this now, NASCAR. This would be a hit all around. I see no flaws with this scenario whatsoever. So good on you, Richie. Give you a round of applause here.
Thank you. Warphammer says, you just figured out what the Frances don't really know what they're doing. For the most part, yeah. Well, they don't. But I think we talked about this too. Like it's like the Steves that run the sport now. The Frances are just hanging back, counting their money and counting their checks, and suing NASCAR and suing their own teams for no reason. You know, like that's what they're busy doing.
We didn't just figure this out, though. This has been a theme this year alone, but just the last few feels like a decade plus now. This has been going on, but especially like the last couple seasons, at least. Mm-hmm. No, we had not just figured that out.
Big Glenn saying who's getting voted off this week. See, that's so much. It's so much drama. That's what NASCAR needs, right? That's how Formula One survives. We'll get to Formula One in a hot minute here, but that's how F1 survives. They survive completely on drama and who's getting voted off the island every week. So.
Yeah, exactly. Be like Big Brother style too. If you watch Big Brother, put somebody on the chopping block and vote them out.
Exactly.
Eviction.
NASCAR, we're trying to help you, man. That's why you listen to Speed Freaks every Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. Freaks Radio Network every Monday, noon Eastern Pacific on MAV TV. You can check us out. Thank you for watching us live, everybody, by the way. We appreciate you. All right, let's get back on track here. I know we joke and we kid.
That's the Speed Freaks way. Come on.
It is the Speed Freaks way. Joey Logano was also asked about this idea about, Catherine Legg, Casey Mears, et cetera, and how to fix this approval process. Here is Joey Logano from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway Media Center earlier this week.
I think there's got to be more structure around it. I think we're pretty just willy-nilly with it on, whether you've raced in the last 10 years or not, or what did you race? It might be a better question. Right? I mean, you look at, there's a balance in here somewhere of what makes sense, but when you look at F1, it's really like for anyone to get a license to race there, I don't know if any of us are qualified, nor should we be, because we've never driven anything like that, right? Like, I don't think it'd be right to throw me in an F1 race and without racing one before and giving me 20 minutes of practice. Yeah, I'm going to be in the way, right? Because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. The same thing for them, though, right? If you've never driven a stock car, should you just jump in a cup car with 20 minutes of practice and line up and race? There's a line between entertainment and safety. Not only for that particular driver, but us that race here every week.
Yeah, so you heard from Kyle Busch and Joey Logano there, and they're both on the same page. It was like, this is silly.
Mm-hmm.
This is completely silly. So I have to imagine, Cole, at some point this season, they got to figure this out and make some changes to whatever they're doing, because it's not working, and it is fairly dangerous, especially if you get somebody on a bigger track like a Daytona or Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
And someone, thankfully, these cars are really, really safe now. And somebody gets hurt because you have an idiot out there that doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
And so this has to change.
I think it will change too, if enough drivers keep talking about it and voicing their concerns, which they are legitimate concerns. You mentioned it right there. The safety aspect is the most paramount thing in this scenario and in just the sport in general. So I think something will get done. I hope it's not at the expense of like a really like catastrophic wreck or like some playoff altering scenario. But like I do think that something will get done. If not this season, this off season. But hopefully nothing like egregious happens to where something has to get done like immediately,
Yep, I 100% agree. Got a couple more things to get to before we get out of here. Thanks for watching us live on YouTube only tonight. We are not on the Freak Radio Network live tonight. We are not airing live on MAV TV. So Cole and I can cuss up a storm if we wanted to.
I didn't know that. You're just telling me this right now? Come on.
And get away with it. Did you not know? Did I not tell you that?
No, I didn't know that. Damn.
Well, here's the thing. We have sponsors that we need to make happy. And I'm sure the sponsors wouldn't be too happy if we were dropping F-bombs and S-bombs, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to try and avoid that. Plus, we would get demonetized on YouTube if we did that. So that wouldn't be good either. Yeah. Speaking of our fine sponsors, make sure you check out GeneralTire.com. They got an exclusive special going on. GeneralTire.com. Check it out. And you can get a Visa gift card, prepaid Visa gift card, if you meet some certain regulations. GeneralTire.com for more information.
Freak Nation, head to your local General Tire dealership now to check out the latest additions to their product lineup. The Grabber family of tires are engineered for durability and feature innovative performance features that offer all-terrain capability, blending exceptional off-road durability and impressive on-road performance, all while sporting aggressive styling. For outstanding off-road performance coupled with strong street manners, look no further than General Tire. General Tire delivers for whatever you do, and the official tire of Speed Freaks since 2001.
You know what I do love about this YouTube format, Cole, is that we can just yap endlessly and we can actually dive into topics as opposed to, usually there's 4 of us on the show and we only have 10 minutes per segment. And to do only 10 minutes with 4 of us and on one particular topic is really hard to do. So the fact that we can get Cole and I here without any commercials, we've been basically commercial free for over an hour, and we're still going. We do have a couple more things to get to before we get out of here. So thanks for hanging out with us, Freak Nation. Again, Ricky Suave Flores here in the Lucas Oil Studios in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Cole is out in Las Vegas, Nevada, fresh off of Sunday's Cup Series race, won by Josh Berry. But Cole, while you were out there in Las Vegas, this is called a transition. This is why I'm a professional, Cole. Okay? I've been doing this long enough that I know how to transition into something. And you got to experience something for the first time this weekend that I'm kind of jealous of and I have yet to experience. Luckily, I believe I could do it for the first time coming up later this week here in Arizona. And that is High Limit Racing had their season debut in Las Vegas, right there at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, if I'm not mistaken. That's where their dirt track is. This was your first time at High Limit. What'd you think, man?
I gotta say, I perked up just now in case you couldn't tell. This was probably the highlight of my entire weekend. And that's saying a lot being the avid NASCAR fan that I am. But when I tell you this was an incredible experience, I mean it. Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson, everybody involved with High Limit know exactly what they're doing. And I really wish them the most success because this is, I think, an essential sport for the growth of motorsport. Being out there was so cool because it's going to sound weird, but like when you're out in the elements, I know you're out in the elements in like a NASCAR race, but it's a much more tight-knit crowd. Like there were like maybe 30,000 if you're lucky at High Limit, just because it was a smaller venue. But in being out there in the elements with the small crowd, it's like people are more enveloped in the racing because you're literally thrown right into it. And when I mean that, you're getting pelted with rocks and dirt chips from these cars ripping by you at 900 plus horsepower. And I get romantic a lot about motorsports, by the way. So being out there in the elements, I had this beautiful, picturesque mountain view beyond turn 1 and 2 as the sun's going down, beautiful sunset. Beyond the backstretch, as the night went on, there's a nice full moon. It's got this like fog from the clouds and the dirt being kicked up. So it was a
beautiful.
Really
I'm like
awesome,
picturing this. It
was an awesome atmosphere. And again, going back to the smaller crowd and that thing I brought up earlier. Sorry, getting lost there. People are more enveloped in the racing because they're being thrown into the racing itself. And I feel like the people that are there are true racing enthusiasts. They're not people there watching casually or trying it out for the first time like a lot of NASCAR fans are because how big the tracks are in terms of seating. So very passionate fan base. Everyone's very involved, having their own experience because there's so much going on. And I think the access that fans get to this is really awesome as well. Same with media. They got the same privileges and same access that we got. Post-race, pre-race, in between the races. And I think what stuck out to me the most was how loose all these drivers were. Like, they're all like kind of bullshitting with each other. After the race, like minutes after the race, Casey Kane is by his car, cleaning off some dirt clods, drinking a Michelob Ultra. That was the coolest thing ever. As he's taking autographs, signing pictures, and doing all these things. This is all to say that it was an incredible experience. If you have never been to a dirt race like myself, I've been to one previously at Arizona Speedway that's been now demolished, but now being more enveloped in the racing community, being out there was so cool. If you're curious at all, definitely check out High Limit. They got 60 races on their schedule this year, and it's just a guaranteed blast. Like no doubts about it. And I think it's, again, a very essential series for the growth of motorsport. Just because of you're also seeing these generational talents potentially, like Corey Day, who won the High Limit A Main this week, and you also had guys like Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, all come up from that dirt racing scene. So to get a look at some of these guys that could potentially be in the Cup Series one day, winning championships, is really cool, and to also see the undervalued, underappreciated talents like guys like Brad Sweet, who have not made it beyond that really, but it really is so cool to see, and cannot recommend it enough. I know I was kind of rambling there, but I got really passionate about how fun this was. So.
That's all. That is so cool. That is so cool. more people should appreciate that kind of stuff. And I think the fact that you had such a great time as being a mostly NASCAR focused reporter across, the last few years of your career is great. That is so good for motorsports in general, that you can have somebody like you go and enjoy themselves at a dirt race. And that's how you grow. That's how you grow, is you grow from the bottom up like that. And I think it was announced this week, and Brad Sweet talked to Kenny Crash and yourself about this. You can catch that interview right here on YouTube. If you are subscribed to the channel, you can go and find it. And he talked about how they have now announced this brand new franchise system that they're implementing this year in the hopes to continue to grow the value of those teams and get people more invested in the sport of dirt racing, sprint car racing here in the United States. So I'm excited to go check it out. The closest I've been to a dirt race is I went to a Lucas Oil off-road racing event here in Phoenix out at Wild Horse Pass several years ago. And it was cool to see like these, I apologize, I don't really know much about the off-road racing series, but it was cool to like watch these trucks basically, Pro 2, Pro 4, like do these jumps and stuff like that on such a short racetrack. It was short course off-road racing, and it was really sick. And I really enjoyed doing that. So I'm excited to go check out High Limit this week here in Arizona. We're going to be out there, Speed Freaks, myself, Cole, I think you're going to be out there. Cody, producer Cody's going to be out there as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun. Cole, speaking of Corey Day, you caught up with Corey Day after the race.
Yeah, it was awesome. Just I think a great night of racing. I wish we would have got 2 nights of racing in for sure, especially because I qualified quick time on Thursday night. But yeah, just glad there was a lot of fans in the stands tonight. I'm hoping a lot of new fans from over at the big track, and hope they all got introduced to sprint car racing with a great race.
And then really dominant night for you. What are you looking to build off of as the season progresses?
Yeah, just kind of keep doing what we're doing. We really didn't change a lot from what we ended with last year, and with tires changing as much as they have over the past couple of years, it's really, really encouraging that we can, have a good baseline that's consistent. So, yeah, we're super glad with that. A new crew chief for me, new car chief, new team personnel, I guess you could say. So, yeah, super encouraging to start the year off hot.
It was kind of a bummer. Corey mentioned, there was some rainouts this week on Thursday. It was unfortunate that Christopher Bell, who was originally scheduled to run in the season opener, wasn't able to do so on Saturday night because of the rainouts that Corey Day was mentioning there. But look out for Corey Day, Cole. Corey Day running the truck series this year for Spire. That kid, him and Connor Zelich, man, those two kids are like going to be legit, man. They're going to be so much fun to watch as they continue to progress in the NASCAR circuit up the ranks. Because, we don't really talk about that often, but like if you think about like a lot of these big NASCAR Cup names are starting to move on. So we need a new generation of drivers to get behind and that are fun to watch and are talented. And I think we're starting to kind of see that, Martin Truex Jr. is retired, Tony Stewart's retired, Clint Boyer, like that, Jimmy Johnson, right? Those guys are leaving the sport. So to have Corey Days and Connor Zelich of the world, pretty important to see those guys continue to grow.
Yeah, and honestly, like I've obviously heard a lot about Corey Day, but I did not really know much about him. So getting to see him race firsthand and getting to talk to him after the race, I get the hype now. Seeing him able to hold off Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet, who, by the way, Kyle Larson, it was an honor watching this guy rip dirt. He was making some insane moves out there, so that was really cool to see. But anyway, Corey Day to hold off these legends in the dirt scene, and for him to be so well put together and so well spoken for his young age, it spoke volumes to me. And I think he has an insanely bright future in the sport of NASCAR. So I'm very excited to see his career and how it takes off. But again, you mentioned it right there, Richie. I think another reason why this is, again, so essential for the growth of motorsports is so you can see these guys, these kids develop into the potential superstars that they can be, whether it's in NASCAR or IndyCar or any other form of motorsport, because it really is like grassroots, but there's also these superstar names that enter the series, like your Kyle Bushes, like your Christopher Bells and Kyle Larson's, that there's enough interest there to really keep new fans engaged or people that are curious engaged. And another thing that I failed to mention during my experience at High Limit is I really appreciate how quick and to the point it is. Like, there's no one race for 3.5 hours long like NASCAR. You got your heats, you got the dash, you got the mains, and they were all like the main was 30 laps for the A. So it's like very short and sweet. It keeps people's attention, and that's a very important thing in this day and age where attention spans are so small and diminished.
Yeah, Brad's been on the show. Brad Sweet, co-owner, co-founder of High Limit Racing. He's been on the show many times. Kyle Larson as well, and they both talked about that very thing, which is they want to make these things entertaining. So you're in, you're out, you're entertaining. You're not sticking around all day in the hot sun, et cetera, et cetera. And they put on a great show. That sounds like High Limit put on a great show. We're going to get to Formula One in just a second, but I do want to real quick recap for those of you joining us on YouTube who maybe missed the beginning of the show. Cole, let's real quick recap Las Vegas Cup Series one more time. Go back to some of these Josh Berry cuts. Josh Berry, first career NASCAR Cup Series victory at Las Vegas on Sunday, 53rd career start. It was a great race, as we talked about at the very beginning of the show. Real quick, let's play this. This is Josh Berry answering Cole's question about being able to get that first Cup Series victory in just his 53rd career start.
I mean, yeah, I think, you see a lot of statistics about guys in the Cup Series, and kind of the 100 race mark being the mark of when, the performance kind of turns, I guess, for them once they build the experience. But I don't know. At the same time, I don't consider myself the same as a lot of younger guys, right? I mean, I'm older. I'm more experienced in racing as a whole. Not cup racing or Xfinity racing. I mean, I'm still relatively inexperienced in that side of things. But as a racer and a person, I mean, I'm 34 years old and have been racing for years and years and years. I mean, I've just kind of, even though it's at a different level, I've seen a lot of different things, and I feel like that proved in the Xfinity Series that I was maybe a little bit more prepared than really I thought I was, and now to be here today, it's really cool.
And again, we mentioned these stats a little bit earlier, but in case you missed them, these are some of the other names that we found who got their first career Cup Series victory, who went on to do great things, Cup Series champions after their 53rd career win. Robbie Gordon, Clint Boyer, Ryan Blaney, Jeff Bodine, Rusty Wallace, Bobby Labonte, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Kenny Schrader. All of those guys, champions, multiple race wins, big names in the sport still, all won their first career Cup Series race after their 53rd career race. So Josh Berry's in pretty good company.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Got a great career ahead of him, and I cannot wait to see how it plays out.
Real quick, let's hear from a couple other guys who, Cole, you talked to on pit lane. You talked to Austin Cindric, and you also talked to William Boring. So let's hear from William Boring Byron on pit lane after the race.
I just wish I wouldn't have let him get back to my left rear. I cleared him, and I kind of took my normal line into 3 and trying to get a good exit, and he just got to my left rear, and it drug us back off the top 2. So, yeah, just he's aggressive. He takes every inch, and you just got to race that way with him, and it was a good battle, I think.
William Boring, P4 today at Las Vegas. Cole, you also caught up with Austin Cindric, who was running up front most of the day. Had a really great race. He finished in P6. Let's see what he said post-race from pit lane. Or not, because apparently it's muted. So we won't hear from Austin Cindric. I believe whole editing snafu, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we do live. That's why we do a live show. I believe, I don't know, Cole, I think you maybe have tweeted that out on your Twitter account.
I tweeted it from the Speed Freaks account.
Yeah.
So if you go to our X Speed Freaks account, you could definitely check that out. I just asked him if this was an accurate way to gauge his season so far and the team and how they progressed through 5 starts, just because I did notice they've had speed all season, as I mentioned earlier in the show. This was his third race this season through 5 starts, leading over 47 laps. He had second most laps led in this race here at Vegas. So I've definitely noticed an upward trend in trajectory for that number 2 team. And just kind of want to get his gauge on that. So you could check out what he had to say on our social media accounts, X and Instagram. But yeah, also to give you some context for the William Byron comment, he was battling very hard with Ross Chastain for the 3rd position in the final laps of the race. And that was just him kind of going through that battle and why he had to kind of race more aggressively than he normally would with anybody else.
Yeah, real quick, let's go through your top 10 finishers here in case you missed it. Josh Berry, first career win, P1. Daniel Suarez, 2. Ryan Preece, 3. William Byron, 4. Ross Chastain, 5. Cindric, 6. Alex Bowman, 7. AJ Allmendinger, great run for him, P8. Kyle Larson, 9. Chase Elliott, 10. That was your top 10. We did not have time to do the Beat the Freaks General Tire points extravaganza. So we'll get to that later this week. Stay tuned. We'll run the numbers on that and see if for the second week in a row, we're going to be giving away some General Tires. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Speed Freaks if you aren't already. And you too can win yourself a set of General Tires by picking your 3 favorite NASCAR Cup Series drivers on most weekends. And if your 3 drivers outscore every single Freak Nation member, Kenny Crash, Cole, myself, you're taking home a set of General Tires. And you can do that at Speed Freaks on Twitter. All right, let's wrap up this show, Cole. There's one more thing I need to get to. Kenny's not here, which is great. Because I think you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, when Kenny's not here, Kenny's the biggest Formula One hater in the history of mankind. He will not let me talk about Formula One on the show. And so I never get a chance to do it. So while Kenny and Crash are gone, and it's me and Cole here on YouTube only tonight, thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. I get to talk about Formula One. And they kicked off their season in Australia late Saturday night if you're with us here on the West Coast. Midnight if you're on the East Coast. In the rain and wet. And it was absolute flipping chaos, man. Absolute freaking chaos. I thought it was a terrific piece of drama. I thought it was a good race. It was Formula One at its peak. Absolute peak. That's what Formula One is all about. The racing itself may not be the greatest, but goddamn it, the drama from lap 1 to lap 57 yesterday in Australia was high drama. It was so good. And this season is going to be quite exciting. Cole, I know you were obviously out at high limits, so you didn't get a chance to watch the whole race, but you did catch a little bit of it. How much were you able to watch? And as a Formula One newbie, what did you make of the season opener in Australia?
So I got back from high limit pretty late. I caught the last, I want to say 10 or so laps. Whenever Lewis was leading, and then seconds later he lost the lead, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't watch this because I know you're a big Lewis guy, big Ferrari guy. I'm
Team
Italian.
LH, baby.
I want to see the Ferrari succeed. I want to see Lewis succeed. But on that, so obviously I didn't get a whole feel for like which drivers were deserving of where they finished and who had good races and whatnot. It was Lando that won, right?
Lando Norris. He leads the championship for the first time in his career. Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty common name that I hear in the F1 world as far as somebody who's running up front and winning races. So that didn't come as a shock to me. But what did come as a shock to me, and one driver that I was very excited to follow in F1 this season was a rookie like myself and an Italian like myself, Kimi Antonelli. Now, in doing research before we're coming to Speed Freaks, I was really drawn to his resume and also just his story. Filling in for a legend like Lewis Hamilton, that's huge shoes to fill. And then for him to finish 5th by the time the race ended was extremely impressive to me.
P4,
and then even
P4
I was going to say even more impressive to me was waking up, going on Twitter, and seeing that he actually finished 4th because they rescinded a penalty he had in the race. So P4 in your debut at 18 years old, filling in for Lewis Hamilton. That is freaking awesome. I cannot wait to follow his journey in F1 this season. But from what I saw, good racing. Like you said, a lot of drama, and should be good. I'm excited.
Yeah, okay. So I have to contain myself here for a second. Kimi Antonelli, I'll get to my Ferrari rant in just a second, okay? I've been building up to this all damn day, and that's how we're going to close out the show. But Kimi Antonelli, what a drive, dude. Just an incredible, incredible drive. There were 6 rookies in this race. 4 of them didn't finish. One of them didn't even take the damn start. Right? Like, it was just a mess.
I did see that.
It was just a disaster. Isaac Hadjar didn't even make it to the start. He spun out. Carlos Sainz, last year's Australian Grand Prix winner, spun out under a safety car. Fernando Alonso, multiple-time world champion, spun out, crashed. Liam Lawson crashed. Gabriel Bortoleto crashed. But no, Kimi Antonelli managed to drive his way up to the field because he qualified pretty far back. He qualified, I believe, 16th. Didn't even make it to Q2. And drove all the way up through the field. Couple great overtakes. And coming home P4, man. He should have won driver of the day. Like, Lando Norris fans are crazy. Y'all are crazy, bro. He's like got like a bunch of groupies, and I'll never understand why. I had a whole last year. I did a whole rant on Lando Norris. You can go check it out. It's on our Speed Freaks Instagram. They got a lot of run. People were pissed at me because I was calling out Lando Norris because I'm not his biggest fan. But I'll save that for another. Day. But yeah, what Kimi did was pretty incredible. My favorite moment of the race was the radio from Charles Leclerc. It was raining all race long, so Charles pops on the radio and says, "Hey, I have a leak. There's a leakage going on." His engineer says, "A leakage of what?" Charles says, "I have the seat full of water, like full of water." He says. His engineer says, "Must be the water." No shit, dude. What the hell else is it? What the hell else?
That's amazing.
Cole, this is why I love F1, because you get this kind of just the memes that come from this damn sport are top notch every week. And to which Charles responds, "Let's add that to the words of wisdom." So there you go. It's not quite weird checking of years past on the Ferrari radio, but it's close enough. Which brings me to oh, here we go. Let's go to Warphammer here. He's got some comments here. That's why we're doing this live, so we can talk to you about your comments. Warphammer, Antonelli, good. Lewis was never going to be a good fit with Ferrari, and now he's finding out. I don't think that's 100% the case. No, I'm not going to drop an F-bomb. He got screwed. He got screwed over. Okay, we'll get to that in just a second. I have a rant about that, Warphammer. Stay tuned. We'll go through your comments. Alonso crashed and Stroll didn't. Figure that out. Do you remember? Cole, last year, Lance Stroll in Brazil did the same thing that Isaac Hadjar did in Australia. He crashed before the damn race started.
Really?
On the formation lap, yeah, he just quiet quit the race.
What? Is that like a common occurrence? What the hell is going on in this series?
I know. It's like they always say that Formula One drivers are the best in the world, and this is the crap that they're pulling is they can't even start the race because it's too wet. Anyway. Warphammer still continuing. Lewis's dad and Hadjar was quite a moment. That was cool. That was great. I don't know if you saw that, Cole, but yeah, after the race,
I did.
Hadjar completely dejected, obviously, as well he should be, in what should be the coolest moment of his entire life, and unfortunately got foiled because of the weather. And yeah, Lewis's dad came up to him and gave him put his hand on his shoulder and consoled him, and that was really cool.
That was really cool. A really cool moment.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Whew. Take a breath.
Oh boy. Here we go. Here we go.
Cody, you know what to do. Come on. There I am. There we go. Okay. Freak Nation. If we have not made it abundantly clear as of yet on this program, I am a big Lewis Hamilton fan. I am Team LH all the way. I bought my Lewis Hamilton hat, which has not arrived yet, or else I'd be wearing it right now. I was so damn excited to get him out of that stinking Mercedes, away from Toto Wolff, away from that crap box organization that it's been for the last 3 years that Lewis has had to deal with. Lewis has had to deal with a team that was clearly favoring George Russell over Lewis, especially last year, constantly screwing him over on strategy, etc., etc. So Lewis comes to Ferrari, and you can tell he's rejuvenated, new lease on life, super excited to take on this completely new challenge with a team who was the second best team on the grid last year. They finished second in the constructors, not too far behind McLaren. And so I'm thinking, yes, this is going to be incredible. This is going to be Lewis's time. He's going to have a legit shot to win his 8th career world championship until we get to qualifying. And Lewis qualifies 8th. Here we go again. Same old crap with Ferrari. Underperforming in the first race of the season. And then we get to the actual race. Lewis is not able to do much in the first half of the race. He's kind of, not able to overtake in the rain. He gets within DRS a couple times, but couldn't quite find a way around Alex Albon for most of the race. The rain comes back a little bit later in the race, and Lewis gets in an argument on his radio, not an argument by any means, but about strategy, whether to pit or not, as the rain started to come in a little bit harder. And engineers are telling Charles Leclerc that it's going to pour, that the deluge is going to come, and so they're telling Charles that it's going to pour. They tell Lewis Hamilton the complete opposite. And they're like, oh, it's going to be quick. It may miss us. It may pass us. So they kept Lewis Hamilton out longer than he should have. So what happens then? In perfect Ferrari fashion, I should have known this, Cole, Freak Nation. I should have known better that for the last few years, that's all Ferrari does is screw over their drivers with absolute dog shit strategy on a weekly flipping basis, dude. And that's exactly what happens. They screw it up again. They screw it up. And instead of Lewis maybe trying to get an advantage and maybe finish in the top 6, no, he finishes 10th. All because Ferrari has no idea what they're doing. So here we go again. There's a great meme. I put it up on my Twitter page, @OurFloresND1. You can follow me there. And it's basically like, it's a circle thing. It's we are so back, we are so over. Being a Ferrari fan this year, Cole, is going to be the absolute death of me. I swear. I don't know if I can handle this for 23 more races. God, I'm so disappointed. I should have known better. Okay, cool.
Well done. That was a great rant,
Jesus.
Richie. You got me fired up. I'll be cheering for Lewis. Like I said, I'm Italian, so I always got to root for the Ferraris. I know a lot, or not a lot, but I know of Lewis Hamilton. I know of his accomplishments. I feel like he's one of, if not the greatest of all time in F1. Maybe that's a hot take. I could be wrong there, but
no, he is. He has the most race wins. He's tied for the most championships. Yes, he's the GOAT.
All right. Nice. All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to following him and seeing more of your rants, because that, again, got me really fired up. And when I got back to the hotel and I saw him leading, I was like, oh, no way, this is freaking awesome. He's actually winning after going to this new team. And then sure enough, like minutes later, he was out of it. So I didn't know how he got back in the pack. I guess it was the strategy call, like you were saying. But, man, it's going to be a fun season, I think. I think he will be a contender. He will be a contender this year.
I think they're going to figure it out. I think this season is going to be absolutely electric. There were 7 teams out of the 10 that made the points in Australia. Sauber, Nico Hülkenberg, Cole. Okay, this is a guy who's brand new team. Sauber was the worst car in the grid. They're the green car, your favorite color.
Hey, nice. Yeah, that livery was really sick.
Yeah, so Nico Hülkenberg finishing the points. He's scored more points for Sauber in one race than they did all of last season. Truly incredible stuff. Real quick, let's wrap up the show with some of these comments, then we'll get the heck out of here. I can continue on this for a long time, but Cole, you've had a long weekend, and so we need to get you the hell out of there. But let me roll through some of these real quick. More Pammer here. Ferrari mid-race is so chaotic. It's literally a meme. Slow button on. We are checking. Lewis was dropping expletives on the radio on Sunday, and he never does that.
Ooh.
Never does that. Here we go. Lewis is not good with that chaos. I agree. He's like a very even keel guy, so he's not used to the chaos. Blake weighing in every year. It's true, Blake, and I don't know why I got suckered into believing things are going to be different this year. They're clearly not. Stayed up until 2 a.m. to watch it. Blake, are you going to stay up to watch China, the next race? It is 3 a.m. Eastern time is when that race starts. Midnight here in Arizona.
Ooh, that's fun.
I'll
watch that.
I'm going to stay up and watch it. I'm going to be up. I think China's going to be a great race. That track is hard too, dude. I was racing that on the Formula One game. Hard track. Blake saying this season incredible. I agree. Greg weighing in. Sonoda surprised me. Yuki had a great race too. He should be in that Red Bull seat, damn it. All right. I don't know if you agree with me, Freak Nation, but he should be in that Red Bull seat over Liam Lawson, who crashed again while Yuki's still putting up points in the second Red Bull car. Sonoda was laying on his resume on Horner's desk. Absolutely. That's what I was just saying. He deserves that Red Bull seat. Warhammer's saying, 3 a.m. Start is unfortunately a different matter than 2 a.m. for me. Watch it on replay, man. Get F1 TV. That's what I did this week. So, all right. I think we're done. We almost did this for 2 damn hours because Cole and I are yappers and we can't stop yapping. But that's totally okay. And we had a lot of you tuning in, so we ran long. We were actually, Cole, I originally told you we were going to be done in an hour. I was like, we can get in and out in an hour. It'll be cool. But we had a lot to talk about. Freak Nation was chiming in all show long. So do you have any final thoughts before we say goodbye, Cole, from your time in Vegas? What you're looking forward to coming up next week in Homestead? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had a blast out here in Vegas. Again, like I said, I think I'm more pumped to get out to High Limit. I can't remember if it's this weekend or next weekend, but that's going to be a blast to have all of us out there. You, Richie, Cody, Kenny, Crasher. It's going to be an awesome time, especially seeing as it's your first legit dirt race. Like this kind of was my first dirt race, so that's going to be awesome. And then as far as NASCAR is concerned, Homestead's one of the best tracks on the circuit, especially in this next-gen era. Looking forward to seeing Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick rip that high line. I think we got a quote from Reddick actually on our social media from this past weekend that I got. So that'll be cool. And then, I'm kind of running on fumes right now. It's been a long weekend, but it's been a very gratifying one as well. I want to thank Kenny, Crash, and everybody at Speed Freaks again for having me out here. Hopefully I did right by you guys and being your boots on the ground this weekend. And also, I got to say, excellent job on manning the ship here, Richie. I know you've been producing, directing, doing all these things for years now at Speed Freaks, and now you get your shining moment to have. I
got to hop in Kenny's shoes for a bit, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So he did a really good job on that. So, that's all I had.
Yep. Thank you so much, Cole. Thank you, Cody, for producing the show behind the scenes. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Glenn, Warphammer, Blake. We see everybody in the comments. Make sure to check us out every Sunday night right here on YouTube, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific time. Freak Radio Network as well. Check us out on Mondays on MAV TV, 12 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. Make sure you follow us on all of your social media channels at Official Speed Freaks. A lot of great stuff from this weekend that Cole got. So you can check out all of that great content at Official Speed Freaks, Instagram and TikTok, at Speed Freaks on Twitter. We're on Facebook as well. Everywhere you can get your motorsports news. Once again, thanks for hanging out with us. For Cole, I have been Richie. Have a great rest of your Sunday Night Freak Nation. And we will talk to you again on Wednesday for Horsepower Hump Take. Good night, everybody.
3 years of sellout crowds. 3 years of edge of your seat action. 3 years of jaw-dropping finishes. Worldwide Technology Raceway has rocked the world of NASCAR. And now, NASCAR is giving us another reason to celebrate. The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Championship playoffs are coming. Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.